The galaxy had long believed Earth to be a relic of the past, a species that had destroyed itself in the fires of war. It had been centuries since any Terran vessel ventured beyond the confines of the Sol system. The only evidence of humanity's existence was old, fading transmissions from the long-lost golden age of Earth's space exploration, relics of a time before their fall. The sudden emergence of the distress signal, faint but undeniable, sent shockwaves through the galaxy. It wasn't just the fact that Earth had somehow survived. It was the nature of the signal itself. The transmission was encoded with advanced patterns, a form of communication that was unfamiliar to most alien species. The Zarnath Empire, the first to detect it, initially thought it was a malfunction in their deep space sensors, but when they traced it to its origin, the coordinates pointed directly to Sol. The Zarnath Empire, known for their cautious nature, dispatched one of their elite patrol ships to investigate. They were not prepared for what they found. The Zarnath patrol ship, Vigilance, arrived in the outer reaches of the Sol system, its cloaking shields active to avoid detection. Its mission was clear: verify the signal's origin, assess any potential threat, and report back. What they didn't anticipate was the rapid response of something far more advanced than they had ever encountered. As the Vigilance drifted closer to the asteroid belt near Mars, an anomaly appeared on their radar. A massive structure, one that didn't belong, materialized in their trajectory. A warship, unlike anything they had ever seen. Angular, brutal, and enormous, it hung silently in the cold expanse of space, seemingly dormant. The Zarnath crew observed in disbelief as the ship's silhouette became more defined through their enhanced scanners. It was a battleship, and it was alive. Before the Zarnath could react, before they even had time to raise shields or send a distress signal, a series of blinding flashes erupted from the dark shape. Energy bursts crackled across the void, and in a heartbeat, the Vigilance was consumed. A massive, unexpected surge of kinetic force hammered the Zarnath ship, bending space and time itself. The Vigilance exploded into dust, its wreckage scattered across the system. The battleship, a hulking Terran vessel, never even moved. The attack had been instantaneous, precise, and utterly overwhelming. The UNS Dreadnought, Earth's most formidable warship, had been waiting. Its sensors had already locked onto the Zarnath vessel the moment it entered the system. The moment was brief, but it set off a chain reaction that would resonate throughout the galaxy. On a nearby space station, the remnants of the Vigilance's final transmission flickered onto a display, a lone fragment of a scrambled message. It was a warning. And that warning was broadcast across the galaxy. Earth is alive, and it is watching. In the Zarnath Command Center, a silence fell over the officers as the reality sank in. Earth was not just a forgotten world. Earth was a threat, and they had no idea how to fight it. The galaxy was in shock. For centuries, Earth had been an afterthought, a place of myth and rumor. Until now, the UNS Dreadnought had erased all doubt. The Zarnath Empire's once proud patrol ship was nothing more than debris floating in the void, a testament to the catastrophic power of humanity's war machines. Word spread quickly. The Galactic Concord, the sprawling interstellar government that united the major alien empires, was immediately forced into action. Representatives from over a dozen species convened in an emergency council meeting. Their discussions, once focused on trade routes and territory, now centered entirely on Earth's unexpected return. "We've been underestimating them for centuries," said General Thrax of the Glavari Horde, his voice tight with apprehension. "Their world was thought to be destroyed. But now, we know they were biding their time." Despite their initial shock, the Concord's leaders knew they couldn't wait any longer. The universe had just learned that Earth was alive, and it had learned how to fight. The decision was made to send a diplomatic envoy to Sol, to establish contact and assess the threat firsthand. The Concord's envoy was vast, made up of diplomats from every corner of the galaxy, the reptilian Kilzari, the telepathic Tanari, and the glittering crystalline Xuri, among others. Their flagship, The Concordia was one of the largest and most advanced vessels in the galaxy, designed to carry ambassadors and host delicate negotiations. Its sensors scanned Earth's space as it approached the outer edges of the system, where the UNS Dreadnought still lingered, a silent sentinel in orbit above Mars. As the Concordia drew closer, Earth's fleet revealed itself in full. There were no flashy light shows or grand parades, no welcome parties, just a wall of ships, savage, utilitarian, and ready for war. Earth's battleships were built to function, not to impress. They were monsters of function and efficiency, forged for one purpose: to dominate. The diplomatic envoy, despite their advanced technologies, could do little to mask their unease. Their scanners buzzed with reports of ships that seemed almost alive, their hulls rippling with strange energies. Most of the alien envoys had never seen a ship like Earth's, and the sight made them uncomfortable. These were warships, every inch designed to fight, and they were positioned in perfect formation. As the Concordia hailed Earth, an eerie silence followed. The Terran response came not with the usual pleasantries, but with the cold, calculated precision that would become their signature. A single message flickered across the Concordia's bridge. "This is Earth. We come in peace. Approach at your own risk." No show of force, no warning shot, just a clear, unmistakable declaration. Earth was not here to negotiate for resources or alliances. They were here on their own terms. The alien envoys were left in stunned silence. The message was simple, yet incomprehensible. It was an invitation, but also a subtle threat. It made one thing abundantly clear: Earth had no interest in diplomacy, only in ensuring that no one threatened them ever again. The Terran fleet remained motionless, like a pack of predators watching their prey. The aliens had no idea how to proceed, but they all shared the same thought. What had they awoken? The Concordia hovered in the cold expanse of space, just outside the range of Earth's looming warships. The alien envoys aboard were still reeling from the stark, blunt message, but they had come here to negotiate, to understand what Earth wanted, and to assess if the galaxy's fragile peace could survive the resurgence of such a terrifying force. The tension on the diplomatic vessel was palpable. For the first time in history, the Galactic Concord's High Council was forced to abandon their usual tactics. No ambassadors, no ceremonial gestures, no over-ambitious promises. They had no choice but to proceed cautiously, to show Earth they were serious, while still trying to maintain an air of diplomacy. The envoy captain, an experienced Tanari named Silara, turned to her crew. "We've heard the rumors," she said quietly, "but nothing prepared us for the reality. We have to make them understand that this is a diplomatic mission, not an act of war." But just as Silara issued her order to proceed, a new transmission crackled through the Concordia's comms. A cold voice, human but detached, echoed through the ship's speakers. "Welcome to Earth. Prepare to witness our capabilities." The message wasn't threatening, just factual. And yet, it sent a chill through every alien on board. As the envoys steadied themselves, a low hum filled the room as the Concordia's hull vibrated with a sudden, unexplained force. Outside the ship, in the void of space, the Terran fleet stirred to life. The show of force was not a grand gesture of firepower. Instead, it was a single, silent demonstration of technological prowess, something far more frightening. Without any warning, a massive kinetic slug shot out from the UNS Dreadnought, tearing through space at a speed that far exceeded anything the Concordia's sensors could register. The projectile was the size of a moon, a monolithic block of dense alloy, and it hurtled toward the asteroid belt near Mars. The alien envoys watched in stunned silence as the massive kinetic missile slammed into a floating rock the size of a small moon, obliterating it in an instant. The shockwave sent ripples through the surrounding space, knocking asteroids out of their orbits, leaving a jagged, fiery trail of destruction. The sight was mesmerizing and terrifying. The show was over before anyone could even react, and yet the message had been delivered clearly. Earth could destroy planets if it so chose. Solara's eyes widened. That was. She began, but words failed her. From the UNS Dreadnought, the voice of Admiral Althea Core sounded over the comms, icy and calm. This is just a demonstration of what happens when you underestimate humanity. The alien envoys tried to collect themselves, their minds racing. The projectile, simple in appearance, was not just a weapon of mass destruction. It was a testament to humanity's ability to engineer and manipulate forces that no one else in the galaxy could comprehend. The Terrans had crafted a missile capable of altering gravitational fields, accelerating matter to near-light speed, and causing cosmic-scale destruction, with no more than a few lines of code in their AI systems. "The asteroid," said Solara in a trembling voice. "It wasn't just destroyed. It was disassembled." One of the Killzari engineers on the bridge spoke up, his voice thick with awe. "We've never seen weapons like this. It's beyond our understanding." Admiral Core's voice cut through the tension again. "You're here to witness a warning, not to evaluate our capabilities. Humanity is no longer just a member of the galactic community. We're its most formidable power, and we will defend our sovereignty by any means necessary." The Concordia fell silent. The envoys had come with questions, but now they had only one answer. Earth was back, and it was not to be trifled with. As the show of power faded, Solara stood still, her mind racing. There were no words that could undo what had just been seen. The terror of that single missile strike hung in the air. One thought echoed in every mind aboard the Concordia. They had underestimated humanity. And now, it was too late. The galaxy's fear of Earth was no longer just a whisper. It was a growing reality, one that seemed to unsettle even the most battle-hardened empires. Yet, not everyone was willing to accept that a species thought long extinct could suddenly rise to dominate the stars. The Xarnathi, a ruthless empire known for their stealth warfare and predatory tactics, were among the first to challenge Earth's display of power. Their ships, sleek and practically invisible to most scans, were designed for one thing: hit-and-run attacks, overwhelming strikes that left enemies reeling. The Xarnathi had long thrived by striking quickly, and their advanced cloaking technology made them feared in deep space. Their warlords, eager to prove themselves, gathered a fleet at the edge of the Sol system, ready to test Earth's response. Aboard the Xarnathi Spectre, the fleet's flagship, Commander Tharath took his seat, his reptilian eyes fixed on the star charts before him. "The humans think they've shown their hand," he hissed, "but we will prove them wrong. They're not invincible." Tharath had heard the stories. The destruction of the Vigilance, the terrifying missile strike on Mars. But none of that mattered. The Xarnathi fleet was invisible, swift, and deadly. They would hit Earth fast and hard, before the humans could react. They would not expect an ambush. However, Tharath had underestimated one critical element: Earth's ability to adapt. The UNS Dreadnought, the same vessel that had effortlessly wiped out the Vigilance, had already detected the Xarnathi's stealth signatures. The Terrans had not been idle, and their technology had progressed beyond even their initial expectations. In the cold darkness of space, the Xarnathi fleet moved in silence, cloaked by their advanced shields. But what they did not know was that Earth's ships had been quietly adjusting their sensors, attuning them to frequencies that Xarnathi had once believed undetectable. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Spectre's cloaking field wavered, just for a moment. Long enough for the UNS Fury, a smaller but equally deadly Terran battleship, to detect the distortion. It fired a single warning shot, a pinpoint burst of electromagnetic radiation that shattered the Xarnathi's stealth shield like glass. The battle was on. Within seconds, the UNS Fury's AI, capable of processing trillions of calculations in the blink of an eye, had already locked onto the Xarnathi fleet's location. The Fury's guns fired as if guided by a hand of fate, sending a series of precision blasts toward the Xarnathi ships that had thought themselves invisible. The shock of being seen, of being vulnerable, sent a wave of panic through the Tarnathi ranks. But the fury was only the first. In the next heartbeat, the UNS Valiant, another of Earth's warships, emerged from the shadows, its massive cannon swiveling to open fire. And then the UNS Inferno joined the fray, its electromagnetic pulse weapon frying the shields of the closest Tarnathi ships, turning their sleek, deadly hulls into glowing wrecks. The Tarnathi's once feared tactical superiority evaporated in a series of fiery explosions. Tharath tried to rally his fleet, but the Tarnathi ships, once invisible and maneuverable, were now easy prey. They tried to cloak again, but it was too late. Earth had already mapped their locations, predicting their movements with unsettling accuracy. One by one, the Tarnathi ships fell, their systems hijacked and dismantled by Earth's sophisticated AI-driven warfare. In a final, desperate move, Tharath attempted a retreat, but the UNS Fury's drones intercepted his ship, sending it careening toward a nearby asteroid. The battle was over. The Tarnathi fleet was in ruins, scattered across the void. The UNS Fury's captain, Admiral Saren, spoke into the comms, her voice calm but heavy with warning. "Tell your leaders, this is the price of underestimating humanity." The remaining Tarnathi survivors limped away, leaving the system littered with the remains of their fleet. The message was clear. Earth was no longer a world to fear. It was a force that could never be reckoned with. The message from Earth had been loud and clear. They were no longer the helpless, primitive species of galactic lore. Earth was a power, one that had mastered war, strategy, and technology in ways no one could fully comprehend. The galaxy's fear was no longer theoretical, it was real. And with it came the terrifying truth. Humanity's approach to warfare was unlike anything the Galactic Concord had ever seen. The Galactic Council was reeling from the aftermath of the Tarnathi incident. The Zarnethi, Glavari, and Tanari had all witnessed the destructive capabilities of Earth's fleet firsthand. But what was truly terrifying wasn't just their strength, it was their philosophy of war. Earth's military doctrine, known as the Doctrine of Mutual Destruction, was unlike any the galaxy had ever encountered. It was simple, brutal, and efficient. We fight to survive, and if that means the annihilation of our enemies, so be it. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Concord was forced to confront the possibility that they might not be able to contain Earth's power. Earth didn't seek conquest. They didn't want to expand their borders. They had no interest in controlling trade routes or subjugating alien species. No, Earth fought to protect its sovereignty. And if an enemy threatened its sovereignty, it was obliterated without hesitation. In an emergency session convened in the Concord's Central Council chamber, representatives from the galaxy's largest factions debated their next move. The air was thick with tension, and the usual calm of the Concord's deliberations had been replaced by frantic whispers and worried glances. "Do we attempt to strike a deal with Earth?" asked Lyra, a veteran diplomat from the Tiri Dominion. Her voice was steady, but the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes betrayed her fear. "Or do we prepare for war?" "There is no negotiating with them," replied Zorith, the grim-faced Glavari warlord. His voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. "We've seen their doctrine firsthand. They don't seek allies. They seek to ensure no one ever threatens them again." General Thrax of the Glavari nodded. "Their ships don't just fight to win. They fight with the understanding that war is a game of survival. Once they engage, they don't stop. They've already demonstrated this with the Tarnathi fleet. We lost ships in seconds." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. They all knew the truth. Earth's ships weren't built for diplomacy or showmanship. They were built for one thing: to crush their enemies without mercy. The Tanari representative, Selara, stood up, her expression one of deep contemplation. "But we cannot ignore their power. The UNS Dreadnought, the UNS Fury, the way they disable fleets with seemingly no effort. These are no ordinary ships. We cannot challenge them head-on. Liara turned to face her. Then what? We let them dictate the terms of the galaxy. Let them build their empire unchecked. There's more at play here than just Earth's ships, said Ralgar, the commander of the Kilzari forces, his tone sharp. Their tactics, those aren't just raw power at work. Their strategy, their unpredictability. It's as if they know our every move before we make it. A chilling silence fell over the room. Earth's fleet didn't just have superior technology. They had an almost supernatural ability to anticipate enemy movements. Every battle seemed to unfold with Earth's forces always one step ahead, a trait that made them seem not only powerful, but also unstoppable. Finally, the human ambassador to the Galactic Concord, a tall and imposing figure named Admiral Althea Kor, spoke up. Her voice cut through the room like a blade. We're not interested in your galaxy. We're not interested in power or expansion. We are a species that has survived against the odds for centuries. We fight to defend our world. And if that means wiping out anyone who threatens us, then so be it. Her eyes scanned the room, piercing every representative with an unflinching gaze. You may not understand it now, but we will not back down. You have two choices. You can accept our autonomy, or you can face the consequences of ignoring us. The room fell silent again, the weight of her words sinking in. The Galactic Concord had been built on cooperation, on a balance of power. But Earth had shattered that balance in a single brutal display of strength. And now the question was clear. Would the galaxy submit to Earth's terms, or would they risk the terrifying possibility of being torn apart by humanity's relentless doctrine of survival? The atmosphere in the Galactic Concord's High Council chamber was thick with tension, each leader aware that they were standing on the precipice of something unprecedented. The UNS Dreadnought and its sister ships were no longer mere threats. They were harbingers of a new era, one in which Earth would no longer be bound by the delicate treaties and alliances that had governed the galaxy for centuries. Admiral Althea Kor's declaration rang in their ears. Earth would not submit to the Concord's laws. They were a species of survivors, forged by the fires of war, and they would fight for their sovereignty with no hesitation. The question was no longer whether Earth was a threat. It was whether the galaxy could stand against them. The Galactic Concord was divided. On one side, there were the hardliners, those who believed Earth's rise must be met with force. The Glavari, with their emphasis on militaristic dominance, were the loudest voices. Their warlords had already begun assembling fleets, their weapons primed for the possibility of an all-out war. We cannot allow this. This insurrection. General Thrax growled, his scales tightening in anger. The Concord was built on balance. Earth threatens that balance. They must be eradicated, or the galaxy will fall to chaos. But not all factions agreed. The Tsiri Dominion, long known for their penchant for negotiation and diplomacy, feared that a war against Earth would be the galaxy's undoing. We must be cautious. Lyra, the cheery diplomat, warned. If we strike first, we risk drawing Earth's wrath on every one of us. Our losses would be catastrophic. We need time, not aggression. The Tanari, ever elusive and diplomatic, weighed in as well. The humans are unpredictable, yes, but they don't seek war. We must explore every avenue of diplomacy before we escalate. As the debate raged on, the tension in the room reached its peak. They were standing at a precipice, and no one knew which way the galaxy would fall. Elsewhere, in the depths of Earth's fleet command, Admiral Kor stood before a holographic map of the galaxy, her arms crossed as she reviewed the movements of the various alien fleets. The calmness of her posture belied the storm inside her. She had already given the galaxy a choice, to either acknowledge Earth's sovereignty or face the consequences. But the power play wasn't over. Earth had no interest in conquest, but they would not bow to anyone. Not again. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered, her voice steady. "We're not moving toward war, but if they push us, we will make sure they understand the cost." Her officers nodded in unison. Earth's fleet was not just formidable, It was engineered for total dominance. The UNS Dreadnought, with its world-shattering weaponry, was only the beginning. Earth had more ships, more innovations, and more secret weapons hidden within the depths of their military infrastructure. If it came to war, they would bring the full weight of humanity's wrath down on their enemies. Back at the Galactic Concord, the leaders were still debating, but the consensus was clear. A final choice would soon have to be made. The Xarnathi were already licking their wounds from their failed assault on Earth. The Xarnathi Empire was bolstering its defenses, and other factions were beginning to prepare for the worst. The writing on the wall was clear. If Earth chose war, the galaxy would be forced to retaliate. But even as preparations for potential conflict continued, one question echoed throughout the galaxy. What would Earth do next? No one knew the answer, but the galaxy was certain of one thing: they had awakened a beast, and the reckoning was just beginning. The galaxy held its breath as the tension between Earth and the Galactic Concord reached its boiling point. For weeks, the leaders of the Concord had argued, plotted, and prepared, but the time for debate was drawing to a close. A decision had been made. The Galactic Concord would not allow Earth to dictate terms. They could not afford to let one species unilaterally control the fate of the galaxy. Earth's refusal to submit to the Concord's laws left them with no choice but to act. The first move came swiftly. Under the command of General Thrax, the Glavari assembled a massive coalition of forces from across the galaxy, including the Tarnathi, Xarnathi, and several smaller factions. The goal was simple: break Earth's resolve, cripple their fleet, and send a clear message that the Galactic Concord was still in control. The Glavari warlords, emboldened by their past victories, believed they could overwhelm Earth with sheer numbers. However, what they hadn't accounted for was Earth's ability to strike first, and strike fast. Admiral Kor stood at the bridge of the UNS Dreadnought, her eyes scanning the holomap of the galaxy. She had anticipated this move, predicted it down to the last detail. Earth wasn't a passive player in this war. If the Concord sought conflict, then Earth would not wait. They would bring the war to their doorstep. "Deploy the fleet," Kor said, her voice a calm, steady command that held the weight of 100 decisions behind it. In the depths of Earth's fleet, hundreds of ships, more than anyone outside Earth could have imagined, began to move. The UNS Fury, the UNS Valiant, the UNS Eclipse, and dozens of other warships, all equipped with advanced weaponry, began to advance into the galactic core. Their mission was not to wait for the enemy to come to them. Earth would not be passive. They would meet their enemies halfway, and they would strike the first blow. General Thrax's coalition was not prepared for this kind of assault. As his fleet moved toward Earth's borders, expecting to catch humanity off guard, they were met with the unthinkable. Earth's ships didn't hesitate. They didn't retreat. They didn't even wait for the enemy to make the first move. Instead, they launched their attack with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. The UNS Fury fired first, its massive cannons unleashing a burst of energy that shattered the Xarnathi Spectre before its cloaking field even had time to activate. Within moments, the ship's remains drifted into the blackness, a fiery memorial to underestimating Earth. "Target their flagship," Admiral Kor ordered, her voice still calm. Her fleet moved in perfect unison, a well-oiled machine of war. The UNS Dreadnought deployed its own devastating weaponry. The Xarnathi flagship, the Xarathian, a towering, heavily armored vessel, was the next target. A precise strike from the Dreadnought's kinetic weapons tore through its shields, sending debris scattering across the void. In mere minutes, the mighty ship was reduced to an inferno, its once proud hull now a tomb for the Xarnathi crew. The remainder of the Glavari fleet tried to regroup, but Earth's ships moved like predators closing in on their prey. Every ship in the fleet was tracked, every move anticipated. The UNS Valiant launched a series of electromagnetic pulses, disabling the Xarnathi ship's cloaking devices and rendering them vulnerable. Within seconds, Earth's superior firepower tore through their ranks, systematically eliminating their ships one by one. The coalition forces, stunned by the sudden, brutal efficiency of Earth's strike, tried to fight back, but it was too late. The first strike had already been delivered, and Earth's fleet was not letting up. By the time the Glavari and their allies retreated, they had lost nearly half their forces. Earth had struck with overwhelming precision, and the message was clear. Humanity was no longer a species to be trifled with. Admiral Kor stood on the bridge, her face hard and emotionless, as the final enemy ships fled. "Send a message to the Galactic Concord," she said. "Humanity is not to be underestimated again." The war had begun, and Earth was leading the charge. The galaxy trembled in the wake of Earth's decisive victory. The Galactic Concord had been dealt a blow so severe that it seemed impossible to recover from. The Glavari and their allies had underestimated humanity's resolve, and the brutal first strike had sent shockwaves through the heart of their military command. But the Concord was not a collection of fragile empires. It was a union of power and resilience. And now, with Earth's aggression pushing them to the brink, they had no choice but to respond. In the deepest recesses of the Galactic Concord's command center, the Council reconvened. For the first time in decades, it was clear that the Concord faced a threat unlike anything it had ever encountered. Earth's rise had shattered the delicate balance that had kept the galaxy in check. Now, the survival of the Concord depended on one last, desperate gamble. "All our efforts to isolate Earth have failed," said Lyra, her voice filled with resignation. "We can no longer wait for them to show mercy. They've made it clear they will not be deterred. We cannot simply accept this," General Thrax retorted, his voice laced with frustration. "They have humiliated us, and if we do not strike back now, we risk losing everything." The tension in the room was palpable. Earth had proven that it could annihilate entire fleets in mere minutes. But even now, the Galactic Concord believed they had one final ace to play. The Omnithrax, a weapon of unimaginable power that had been hidden away for centuries. It was the last resort, a device capable of reshaping the very fabric of space itself. "We must deploy the Omnithrax," declared Zorath, the warlord of the Zarnathi Empire. "It will give us a chance to neutralize Earth's fleet before they can escalate further. If we don't act now, we'll lose everything." The room fell silent. The Omnithrax was a weapon of terrifying power, capable of causing rifts in space-time, creating massive gravitational anomalies that could tear ships apart in seconds. Its use was controversial, even among the most battle-hardened factions of the Galactic Concord. But Earth's unyielding aggression left them with little choice. They had no way of matching Earth's firepower head-to-head. Meanwhile, aboard the UNS Dreadnought, Admiral Kor stood before the strategic map of the galaxy, contemplating her next move. Earth's forces were stretched thin, but the Concord was gathering its remaining strength, preparing for what would likely be their final assault. "We've proven ourselves already," she murmured to her officers, her voice steady. "We will not retreat. The galaxy needs to understand. This is Earth's war. We will fight for our survival, and we will do whatever it takes." The tension between the two sides was now at its peak. The Galactic Concord prepared for one final strike, deploying the Omnithrax in an effort to create a black hole at Earth's core, hoping to destabilize humanity's entire fleet. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. As the Omnithrax activated, a brilliant pulse of energy surged outward, warping space itself. The countdown to the final confrontation had begun. But Earth was prepared. The UNS Dreadnought deployed its own secret weapon, a countermeasure capable of neutralizing the Omnithrax's destabilizing effect. As the two weapons collided in space, the very fabric of reality itself seemed to quiver. In that moment, the universe would hold its breath. A battle was coming, a battle that would decide the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy.